It's 14th of July, and I thought it might be fun this week for me anyway, was to do a whole week of videos on the two Pats, that is Pat Travers, as in the Pat Travers band, and Pat Thrall. And this is a bit of blah blah, and I've had people in the past say way too much blah blah, man, but please bear with me, this is a bit of blah blah. So this week I'm just going to be doing videos on Pat Travers and Pat Thrall, both of whom I like enormously. Pat Travers first came to my attention about 1974, 1975, and he had a couple of albums, the second of which, Making Magic, features Brian Robertson on an incredible solo. In fact, I mean, they're both great. Brian's solo is fantastic on States for Blues, version of the Allman States for Blues, which you can see a video on down there, down in the bowels of hell somewhere. The next album's called Putting It Straight. This time had a guest appearance by Scott Gorham, so both the Thin Lizzy guys. At the same time, you would see these albums, this is a pink one and this is a blue one, by Automatic Man in the record shops, and because I didn't like the cover much, I would just like flick past them and just look for somebody else. And Automatic Man are an incredibly interesting band, to me anyway. They didn't have a great deal of success, but they had Pat Thrall from, I think it's San Francisco, who already had a real reputation as a great guitar player. Michael Shreve from Santana, and the focus of the band was a guy who I think the record company thought would be, if I can say this right, what Prince later became, this sort of visionary dance multimedia guy, and I think his name is Bayete. It's B-A-Y-E-T-E with an accent over the last T. Anyway, Automatic Man now, sometimes if you mention their name, someone will go, oh yeah, what a band, man. But they never had like massive success. So it's just a mouthful of tea. Now these two, Pat Thrall, as I just mentioned, and Pat Travers. By the way, you can get great anthologies of Pat Travers. It's a volume 1 and 2. I would strongly advise getting both. And they're two really good best ofs. They were about to collide in a maelstrom of flange when Pat Travers enlisted Pat Thrall in the Pat Travers band. Now, this is where it gets really confusing, because you say, wait, who played that? Was it Pat or was it Pat? You can't even say, was it Pat T, because they're both Pat T, and you can't even say, was it PT, And on an earlier album, Pat Travers had sung a lyric that said PT's playing, which is now both of them, Pat Travers, Pat Thrall. Right? So anyway, they did, I think it's 2 studio albums. Crash and Burn has got the, hopefully if I get this right on Friday, for the Friday Classic Rock solo, I'll do the Pat Thrall solo. From Is This Love, the Bob Marley song, on Friday, because it is absolutely magnificent. So that, a live album that's up there with the greatest live albums of all time, which is called Go For What You Know Live. And this one, which is incredibly underrated. This is Heat in the Street, right? Brilliant studio album. So if you got those two, you'd have the two of them played together. You'd probably need Crash and Burn as well, but there's a bit of experimentation going on that one. Those are the two I would recommend. And then obviously, Pat Thrall did this album, Huge Thrall, which everyone and his dog thought this is going to be the biggest band in the world. We all loved it. We just loved that Pat Thrall, Glenn Hughes album, Huge Thrall. Everyone thought it was going to be massive. And it was not anywhere near as successful as it deserved to be. This version now you can buy with a lot of extra tracks, all of which are brilliant. And it features a song called Coast to Coast, on which Pat Thrall learned Ray Gomez's original guitar solos from the demos. This is quite a lot of trivia, I know, right? They are both fantastic guitar players. I've seen them both live. I saw Pat Thrall playing with Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. That's Miami Steve from Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. And the front line was T.M. Stevens from the Pretenders, Miami himself, and Pat Thrall. It was great. And then a few years back, I saw Pat Travers, not with Pat Thrall in the band, but with a 2-guitar Pat Travers band. And I have to say, both guys had one of the greatest guitar sounds I have ever heard in my life. They both played the Burgundy Black Star head, and I think they had the Black Star boost pedal, and the sound was incredible. They both played PRSs, both great guitar players. Pat Travers obviously, and it was just I was standing about 12 feet from the front of the stage, and the guitar sound was just sensational. So I'm planning to cover a bunch of songs from these albums. This is Monday, and I'll do at least one a day, as I say, hopefully, culminating in Is This Love? That one, yeah. But as I say, the best laid plans, etc. So, the bit I played at the start was from Heat in the Street, where it starts with a huge A chord. And as the week goes on, I'll get progressively more and more flange. You may notice there's no delay, but I'm just about to do a very short taster for my week of Pat and Pat, and there will be delay. So if you can bear with me, I'll be back in 2 minutes, and I'll do the first of the music videos rather than the blah blah videos on 2 of the guitar greats, Pat Travers, Pat Thrall.